Remember when I asked if the Twins were for real? It turns out that they are.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, I'm begging you, call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and I am now in the middle of my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And you can follow the same handle for Instagram. I am your pal Sully. That's Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you're going to be putting any posts on any of our social media, make sure to use that hashtag EverydaySully so we have an idea who's listening to us and watching us every single day. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube, and you can get updates, especially like right now when we do some of our live things. And also, look at that. You see that? There's my A's helmet there. Last weekend, this held nachos, and now I hold nachos. And you can hold nachos if you want to follow me on Locked On A's. That's right. Twice the Sully you get all week long as I'm the host here doing the National Show. And I guess I'm the interim podcaster, but I'm having a blast doing it. I'm the city of Sacramento for A's fans, essentially a holding spot right there. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go, the fast-paced game that lets you team up with friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool trading playing pieces, hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. Download Monopoly Go on Google Play or on the App Store. All right, let's play ball. And let's quickly, we had Ryan Finkelstein on the show. Last time we talked about the NL East and the Mets. I brought out the question, which was, who was the first ever All-Star for the New York Mets? A couple of you got this right, and Roger Molina and Scott Horsburgh. I see you got to John Murphy Jr. The answer is Richie Ashburn. Richie Ashburn, the eventual Hall of Famer, was on that Mets team, and it was probably a little bit of a, hey, I recognize you. So there you go. He was the Mets' first ever Hall of Famer. Sorry for a little bit of a cough. Your pal Sully has a little bit of an allergy thing going on right now. You didn't hear it if you're listening, but there you go. And not that long ago, I took a look when the Twins were going on their wild winning streak, and I asked the question, which was, should we start taking the Twins winning streak seriously? That's about a little more than a week ago. I asked that question. They were going on a wild rampage of a winning streak. However, you know, some of it you had to take with a little bit of a grain of salt because they were playing truly, truly terrible teams. Now, as I mentioned the other day, you got to take that grain of salt with another. You got lots of grains of salt needed to be taken. Now, the Twins did indeed go on a 12-game winning streak between April 22nd and May 4th. Remember, they were that was not too long after they had a 5-game winning streak, or a 5-game losing streak, I'm sorry, where they had fallen to 7 games out of first place in mid-April. Mid-April, you're already a week behind. Yikes. And now they've gone on they went on the big winning streak. It was against teams like the Chicago White Sox, the Angels, who are truly terrible, and the White Sox again. But then they beat the Red Sox 2 out of 3, and the Red Sox are a good team. And now they beat the Mariners 3 out of 4 games. And they're about to play the Toronto Blue Jays, who don't know what the hell they are. They are the Toronto Blue Jays are a team that they're going to be facing some serious identity issues if they wind up losing this game. Well, the Mariners beat the Twins beat the Mariners today. Lopez, who they got in the trade from the Marlins. More about trades with the Marlins a little bit later. Lopez got the win, and he pitched well. He pitched in the 7th inning. He struck out 10 batters. The thing that was interesting is Logan Gilbert was pitching for the Mariners, and Gilbert has been really, really good, thank you very much, for the Mariners at this point. Maybe it may be putting together an all-star caliber season. And wow, he got torched. Kepler got an RBI hit. Margot got a big RBI double. And Ryan Jeffers hit a home run in the second inning. It was 5-0 in the first. It was 6-1 in the second. It was 8-1 in the fourth. It was a lot to not enough. The final score was 11-1. Now, the Mariners were hoping to get that win and get the split in that series. Instead, they dropped 3 out of 4. And keep this also in mind, that the Guardians, who were in first place, wound up losing. They did nearly the impossible. They lost to the White Sox. That's hard to do. And because of that, remember, it's right now we're just entering the middle of May. When you're hearing this, it's probably going to be the 10th. It's going to be the 10th of May when this one drops. And remember that at that point in the middle of April, the Twins were 7 games out, a full week out of it. Well, now they're a game and a half and only 1 game back in the loss column of the Guardians. In other words, there has been a market correction. Now, I don't really, honestly, seriously start looking at the standings until we get to around June. But that's only a couple of weeks from now. And you saw that the Twins have already done a big market correction. You'll also see that, the Royals, they can pitch and they can do well. I think the Tigers, they have a winning club. In fact, it's interesting. The 4 out of the 5 teams in the American League Central have a winning record. The White Sox pick up the bulk of all the losses there. But the Twins have found themselves in a position where the defending division champs, who are filled with some talented players. Buxton went on the injured list, but as I mentioned, Ryan Jeffers is having a terrific year this year. Max Kepler so far is having a terrific year this year. Carlos Correa is starting to hit the ball the way people were expecting him to. Jose Miranda is starting to hit the ball the way I think people want him to. And then you take a look at the rotation. Yes, the loss of Sonny Gray was bad. But Pablo Lopez has pitched well. Joe Ryan has pitched well. Chris Paddock has pitched pretty well. Griffin Jackson has pitched well out of the bullpen. Cole Sands has pitched well out of the bullpen. This is a team that is playing in a winnable division and has Rocco Baldelli has made sure that they've dusted themselves off and have stayed focused. And with that, I think we can honestly say, yes, they fed on all of the lousy teams that they played, but that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to beat the snot out of the bad teams and hold your own with the others. Well, now they've beaten the snot out of the bad teams, but guess what? They won a series against Boston. And Boston's a team with a winning record. And they won a series against Seattle. And Seattle had images of winning a division title dancing through their head. Now they've fallen out of first, and the A's are breathing down their neck, as the A's are going to wind up playing Seattle next. And they got them on their heels. Meanwhile, the Twins are looking long and hard at what is going to be happening with this club. They're going against Toronto. They're going to Rogers Center. I think it's still called Rogers Center. The Blue Jays are in a weird state of flux. I've been saying now for over a year, really nearly 2 years, that the Blue Jays need to change their managerial situation. Otherwise, they may become sellers, which is insane. But if the Twins can catch the Blue Jays on their heels in the middle of this identity crisis before having New York come into town on my birthday on May 14, this Twins team is looking more and more like a real team. And if a few changes here or there can be made, they could go really far. And we're going to be talking about making changes near and far. By the way, Argenis Richard, if I pronounced your name wrong, I do apologize. Agrees from Mexico. Sully and everyone. It's everyday or everyday Sully. Thanks for signing on. Justin Lamas asks, Oakland got a closer who throws 103.7 miles per hour. Any chance they sell him? Trading him with 6 pennant races could yield a haul, and they're not legitimately going to contend within the next 3 to 4 years. I don't know. What if the A's are contending this year? Did I just blow your mind? Did I just absolutely blow your mind with that? Well, maybe I need to blow your mind a little more and let you know that we're going to talk a little bit about Contenders and the one team that could be the biggest seller, but also the biggest warning sign. Guess what's happening this weekend? This weekend is Mother's Day, and my mom listens to this podcast, listens to all my shows. She listens to Locked On A's and Locked On MLB. Hi, Mom. But I'm not going to tell you what we're going to get you for Mother's Day. But what should we get? Should we get her some flowers for the kitchen island or some self-care essentials? Actually, my mom likes practical gifts, so she probably want to get like the latest tech. Well, I'm not going to tell you what you're going to get, Mom, but I'll tell you how we're going to send you the gifts. We're going to be using DoorDash. We might use the same day delivery, or schedule ahead of time, although it's not many days ahead of time. We will get savings that will make you proud of us, Mom, with a Dash Pass membership. We will save with a delivery fee of $0 and reduce service fees on eligible orders from Dash Pass merchants that meet this minimum subtotal. Other fees, including service fee and terms apply. You too can order now and get everything you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get 50% off your next order, and with $15 or when you spend $15 or more on your next flower. Convenience store, grocery, or retail outlet now on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. And don't worry, Mom, you'll get your gift. But right now, I'm going to give you the gift of competitive Monopoly. This is a time to talk about Monopoly Go. Monopoly Go. You can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique prizes you can trade with a friend to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include doing it live. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko game. Got that line right. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover. Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, get out of the bullpen, get it now at Google Play or on the App Store. And for that, I have to say, play ball. Hey, where do you get your sports news? Where is your outlet for all the best stories? May I suggest making a switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on the YouTubes or on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Live reads. I mentioned Pablo Lopez of the Twins, and the Twins got him in a deal for Luis Arraez. And it was one of those deals that helped both clubs. The Miami Marlins got a hell of a hitter, and the Twins got a solid pitcher. You know, not every trade has to have a big time winner. You know, like, oh, we fleeced them. Sometimes both teams can benefit from a trade. However, in this case, it's looking like the Twins might have the long-term effect of winning that trade because Pablo Lopez is still there. Now, Lopez helped pitch the Twins to a position in the playoffs last year. And Luis Arraez helped slug the Marlins with his .354 average, good solid power, good on base, good slugging, won the Silver Slugger, won the batting title, and the Marlins got to the playoffs for the first time in a full season since the World Series of 2003. And no one on the Marlins particularly did well against the Phillies. The Phillies, clobbered them. But that's not the point. The point is he was a good, solid pickup. He was a good, solid player. And at age 27, it was an elite hitter with a trip to the playoffs under his belt and arbitration eligible next year. So naturally, the Marlins traded him. Now they got 4 players back from him. It was a 1-for-4 deal. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe some of those players are all going to come up and be terrific players. But the fact of the matter is the Marlins, who were a playoff team just, 10 months ago, whatever it was, 9 months ago, were in the postseason and were filled with young, exciting players. And maybe with a possibility, if Alcantara and some of those other people maybe come back, maybe this will be a contending club. Then Kim Ng is essentially let go. And I'm not saying that it's all her fault. All I'm saying is that under Peter Bendix, they've gone from a playoff team to selling before Mother's Day. Now, I understand there's a lot to be said about selling early, because a team could say, like the Padres acquired Luis Arraez. And so by acquiring him now and not at, say, the All-Star break or at the trade deadline, where you'll get, we'll get half a season with Arraez, or we'll get a quarter of a season with Arraez, or a third of a season, whatever, you nearly have a full season with him in the lineup. And essentially he's filling the Juan Soto hole. That the hole of the really good professional hitter in the middle of that lineup has been filled by Luis Arraez. That's pretty cool. That shows that the Padres, who lost an MVP candidate and the Cy Young Award winner, have they've replaced Soto with Arraez. Arraez is not as good as Soto, but still a darn good hitter. And they've replaced Blake Snell with Cease, who, by the way, Cease is looking like a Cy Young contender. And the Giants put Snell on the disabled list or the injured list because he didn't have a spring training. And so this is essentially, ow, my arm, send him to rehab in the minors so he can be ready later on in the game. So it turned out to be a terrific move for the Marlins, or for the Padres. And now we're going to see what's going to happen to the players with the Arraez move. But with that, the Padres decided to fill a hole early. And that was really smart, because as we mentioned yesterday, there is going to be a mad scrum. And you're going to hear me say this all year long. There is going to be a mad scrum for the second National League wildcard spot, because there are several outstanding teams in the National League. The Dodgers are obviously an outstanding team. They're playing like an outstanding team, and they're going to be terrific. The Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves are both outstanding teams. So you got 3 outstanding teams, and you have the Brewers, who are very good, and potentially the Cubs, who are very good. Everyone else, the Mets, the Nationals, the Pirates, the Reds, the Cardinals, San Diego, San Francisco, Arizona, all of those teams are right now hovering around 500 and look like, hey, they are 500 teams, of which 84 wins might be a playoff team, while 82 wins gets you a round of golf as the playoffs start, which means the Marlins have this carcass, this fish that's flopping on the deck. And yes, one of the reasons why they're off to such a rancid start, as of this recording, they're 10-29. They're probably going to get to 30 losses before they get to 11 wins. That's bad. But if you take a look at the team, there are some players who have abilities who are just off the bad starts. Would Chaz Chisholm Jr. fit well on one of these teams that desperately need a bat, and he may need a spark on that team? Or Nick Gordon? Or maybe Tim Anderson, who's not off to an excellent start. But remember, Tim Anderson is just a couple of years away from being removed from being a legit all-star and an MVP contender. And he's last year in the Chicago White Sox was floundering, and now is in Miami. Who knows? If you take a look at some of the players, if Jesus Luzardo comes off of the injured list and pitches even reasonably well, or Tanner Scott, who is a relief pitcher with a certain amount of ability, I mean, Sixto Sanchez is only 25 and not having a great year, but who knows? He may be able to fetch something. The Marlins could be the seller right now. And if you're a team that's in that group that are not the Braves, Los Angeles Dodgers, Philadelphia Phillies, and either Milwaukee or Chicago, those 5 teams, let's say those 5 teams. Every one of those other teams, a win here or a win there, are going to be the difference. So why not fix some problems now? We see the Giants can't hit. We see what some of the problems are that are already existing. We already see that some teams are able to pitch but can't hit. And did I mention vice versa? So if you know what the problem is now, why not give Miami a call? Because the fish market's open. Fish, fresh fish. They're Barton thinking, all these fishmongers out there. And if you think that maybe a change of scenery will spark Chaz Chisholm Jr. to spark your offense or something along those lines, this is a guy who was an all-star, legit all-star with great stolen base potential just a couple of years ago, who has power, who has speed, who's playing in a loss situation. Call the Marlins right away because they're selling. Fill those holes now. Have those holes filled for 3/4 of the season as opposed to 1/4 of the season. And, maybe give yourself a shot. But with that comes the cautionary tale of Miami and how they look like they did everything you need to do to fix their problems. And now, arguably, they're in a worse position than the A's.
PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You can pick more than or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entry, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your picks on more than or less than, and then add them to your PrizePicks entry today. Get in the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. PrizePicks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit them in less than 60 seconds. Download the app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Yes, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Hey, what's your go-to spot for checking out the latest in sports, opinions, takes, and the news? Have it be Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's now available on the free Amazon Fire TV's channel app. Check it out for all the latest from the Locked On experts and the national shows. Check it out, Locked On Sports Today. Have that be your hub.
Now the shortstop.
Think about the Marlins for a situation here. They are a team that is in complete rebuild. They are giving up before Memorial Day. They had trouble selling out the place last year when they were a playoff team and really exciting. Imagine what the crowds are going to be like this year. At least the A's are being competitive. The Marlins, who when I saw them live in Oakland, they lost 20-4. They've already lost a rise. They're already going to start. They're going to trade away their players. They're going to be a minor league caliber team. And this is a situation where the fan base, when they don't show up or haven't been supporting them, the fans get the brunt of it. Well, they don't even support the team. What fans in Miami? Without ever taking into account why they don't show up. This is a team, the Marlins, have won as many World Series titles as the Mets have. That's true. You can look it up. The Mets have won 2 titles. The Marlins have won 2 titles. And yet, that first title they won in 97, they built exactly 0 goodwill. They spent a ton of money for 1 year. They won it all, much to the dismay of Cleveland Indian fans. And then when the parade was over, everyone was traded off. Now, the team was owned by Wayne Huizenga, who ran Blockbuster at the time, and it was appropriately a rented championship. it was a very intriguing team when you look back, because it was filled with veterans who won their only ring there. Gary Sheffield, Moises Alou, Darren Dalton, Kevin Brown, a lot of people that, Bobby Bonilla, a lot of people who had wonderful careers playing elsewhere, won the only title in their career there. And then they wandered in the woods without a winning season for a while, and then they won it all again in 2003, much to the dismay of Chicago Cub fans. But even then, there were a lot of players who were, who played a few more years there. But a big piece of that was Ivan Rodriguez, who won his only title there and went off. And of course, that was the team that gave us the development of Josh Beckett and Miguel Cabrera, who went off and had wonderful careers elsewhere. They are a team that just develops players and they scatter to the wind. And as a fan, seeing that can be kind of exhausting. But for years and years and years, even when they were winning the titles or not winning the titles, they had quality players like Miguel Cabrera and Hanley Ramirez and everyone, or when they had absolutely nobody. The refrain was Miami is going to be a great market. Remember in the movie Major League, it was such a coveted market that that's where the Cleveland Indians were being threatened to be moved to at the end of that season. It was such a coveted market, but the thought process was it's a great city. It's filled with transplanted New Englanders and New Yorkers who grew up loving baseball, and lots of people from the Caribbean who grew up playing baseball and loving baseball. It looks like a Venn diagram of a great place to put a baseball team. Plus, you got Florida weather. If you put a dome on that, you're going to have people go in the ballpark all the time. And lo and behold, people like living in Miami. Rich people like living in Miami for all sorts of reasons. So it looked like this was going to be an easy sell, but only if they got a dome stadium, a new ballpark, and spent money on the team. And 12 years ago, that's exactly what they did. They built that new ballpark, got the new unis, rechristened themselves from the Florida Marlins to the Miami Marlins, got Ozzie Guillen not long after taking the White Sox to a World Series title, picked up a bunch of star players, and even had developed their own superstar in Giancarlo Stanton, and put that weird statue out there. And so they did everything you were supposed to do. And by the end of the year, the stadium was empty, and they traded away their stars. I do not blame Miami Marlin fans for not showing up, because no matter who's running the team, whether it's Wayne Huizenga or nominally Derek Jeter, they don't keep the players on the field. And if they get the goodwill of a trip to the postseason, which has only happened 4 times in their history, it seems to be over by the time it's April or May. And they can't build upon anything. Every argument for, once they get the stadium, once they get to this, once they get to that, none of that matters if the top of the fish, the head of the fish, is rotten. And whatever owner they have, it doesn't seem to matter. And if you're a Marlin fan, it's going to take a long time to bring around. As Justin Lama says, Bruce Sherman doesn't want to spend money. Sure seems that way. And if they're already trading away the team, as the curse of Kim Eng has begun, this team was a playoff team last year. They were an exciting team. They were fun to watch. And not only did they not build on that, they're already blowing it up. And I'm sorry, you cannot blame the fans for not showing up. Because why would they? The same thing in Oakland. The fans who do show up in Oakland are fantastic. But you can't expect to be burned over and over and over and over again and then say, hey, why are they not showing up in droves? Because they know what's going to happen. They can't attach anything to it. And so they went to the playoffs last year, and here we are. We're just now beginning mid-May, and it's already over. Boom. And why it's worse than the A's? Because the new stadium has been built, and they're going to have to stay there for a while. So a billionaire better show up and do the unthinkable, and that is win over Miami fans. You know, Jeff Cohen says, bring back Kim Eng. Oh, someone will sign her, and she'll win Executive of the Year somewhere. and the Marlins will continue being a Mickey Mouse organization. But if you're one of the other 29 teams in baseball who have an interest in actually winning a game, do you what? Give them a call. Give them a call. Today's trivia question revolves around number one draft pick. In tomorrow's show, we're going to have on Ethan from Locked On Pirates, and we're going to talk about the debut of Paul Skeens, who's the number one overall pick. The trivia question revolves around number one picks, and that is, who is the first person who was a number one overall pick in the draft who went on to throw the clinching pitch to either a league championship series or a World Series? It's not a trick question. Someone has done it. But who is the first number one overall pick of the June draft and for the June amateur draft to go on to throw the clinching pitch of either a league championship series or a World Series? Put it down there at Locked On MLB, pods on Twitter and Instagram, or right here on YouTube. Talking about how the Twins look like they're for real. The Marlins look like they could offer contenders the pieces they need, and wondering if there's any hope for Miami baseball. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.